Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to the Afro Hustle Show. It's your boy Rudolph. I'm your host. I'm honored to be your host again for today's show. So listen, our African proverb for today goes by: in the moment of crisis, the wise build bridges and the foolish build dams. That's a Nigerian proverb. And think about the recent crisis that we just came from. We just came from the COVID-19 pandemic, and in as much as so many other countries and places are still experiencing the impact of COVID, where I think about the fact that how many countries or how many businesses in America, actually, statistics show that more people started businesses during the pandemic than ever before. You think about the fact that how can people start businesses in the midst of the pandemic? So those are wise people. According to our quotes today, those are people that have wisdom, because guess what? They had more time at home. People who were laid off from jobs, they had more time at home. They stayed at home. They had enough time to actually dive back and think about all the things that they've been thinking about, all the business opportunities that they've been laying over because they were working and they could not go back to work. They could not have time in their busy schedule to actually build upon their ideas. They decided to say, you know what, I've been laying this over, I've been thinking about starting my own business. Now is the time for me to do it, and I'm just gonna do it, right? So I'm really excited for those people who have actually taken the opportunity to build their businesses in the midst of the pandemic. Okay, awesome. So in our topic today is actually the world belongs to those who hustle. And I think about the world belongs to those who hustle, right? I just go back to our pandemic that we just came from. So a lot of people actually got, the pandemic, got the COVID virus, and people died, people lost their lives, and the wise were those who actually used the pandemic, or used the moment of crisis to build their businesses. They used the moment of crisis to establish ways to help other people. They used the moment of crisis to help children be able to learn from online. Right? They use the moment of crisis to actually help to become part of the vaccination campaign. They use the moment of crisis to do whatever. So when I think about, and those are all means of hustling. Okay, great. So I was part of a team actually in 2019. I was part of a mentoring group, sort of a mentorship program, right? And all of us attendees on that program had one question. Our question was primarily, how do we get ourselves from our current situation to where we want to be in life, right? From our current situation, that situation could be anything. Could be maybe you're stuck at your job. Maybe you don't like your job anymore. Maybe you're stuck in a relationship you don't like anymore. Maybe you're stuck in a situation where maybe you just immigrated to a new country and you don't know you don't know anything about the country. Like, you don't know what you're going to do, right? So a lot of us had those questions for the mentors, for the coaches, because we had coaches in the session that were training us, teaching us about life things, and we had all these questions about life. People think about how can they make their relationships better. People think about how can they become more communicative in their relationship. People think about how can I change my jobs. People think about the fact that I've been thinking about this business idea for so long. How can I kick my business off the ground, right? So we had all these questions. Personally, I had my own questions about how can I kick my business off the ground? How can I leverage more time in my life so I can actually have time for the things that matters, like my relationships, like my family. I had all those questions myself. But one of the things stood out for me. And one of the things that stood out for me was that a lot of us had all these questions, and the coaches gave us advice. They were there to primarily listen to us. The coaches were there primarily to listen to us, hear our concerns, hear the goals that we have for our lives, and sort of give us a pathway, sort of create a pathway for us to actually go about achieving those things that we have in our lives. But one of the things that I also noticed was that most of us in the group, in the coaching group or in the mentoring group, we were all people of high caliber. When I think about high caliber, I'm talking about people who actually had aspirations, people who have goals, people who thought about things that they want to achieve in their lives, people who say, you know what, I've written goals in my life, I've written the things I want to do, I want to start a business in 2 years, but for some reason, we just never got those ideas off the ground, right? There were no results, nothing to show for. We've actually spoken about these things, maybe with our families, with our loved ones. We've spoken about the ideas that we want to be able to achieve, but we have not taken any step towards achieving those goals, which is one of the reasons why we found ourselves in that group, right? Which is one of the reasons why we found ourselves in that group. This doesn't mean that everyone in that group were not successful. We had people who were successful in businesses, but they still wanted more advice. People wanted funding opportunities to grow their businesses. People were seeking opportunities to actually develop themselves, to be better. So we had all these conversations that were going on about things that people could do to enhance their lives, right? So one thing that I noticed was that everybody that was part of that group were people who had jobs, people who had regular jobs, 9 to 5, and some of them were actually started their own business on the side, but they still maintained their jobs. But one question that kept coming back to the mentors were, what can I do to actually start my business? What can I do to actually get this idea out of my head and put it on a piece of paper and actually get it materialized, right? So they had all these questions about the things that they could do. But now the coaches realized that there was the one thing that was consistent, or there were a couple of things that were consistent between those guys along the lines for those of us who were in the attendance of this conference, right? And one thing that they noticed was that so many goals, so many visions were unfulfilled. And we realized that this is how people live their lives. People live their lives and die without actually fulfilling their dreams, their goals, the visions that they actually want, because for some reason they found themselves stuck in a situation where they were helpless. They found yourself stuck in a situation where they could not provide. They found themselves stuck in a situation where they could not get out of the norm, right? They could not get out of the norm. They found themselves stuck in situations where they felt like, if I quit my job, what's going to happen to my family? If I start this business, if I take the risk of starting a business, how am I sure this business is going to succeed? I've traveled to a new country. How am I sure I'm going to even understand what they're talking about? How am I sure I'm even going to understand their language, right? So many of us, we have those challenges. We face those challenges on a day-to-day basis. But the coaches realized that all these goals that were unfulfilled can actually be fulfilled. And they took out something. And you may have some people in your life, that you know about them. But I just want to share with you two things that the coaches brought out. That two things were consistent among the people that were complaining, among the complainers. So there are two things, right? There are complainers and there are people who are asking questions. So people who are asking questions are people who have the goals, who have the visions, they have a plan of what they want to do, but they need some guidance. Then there are people who are complainers, and the complainers are those people who are only out there just to complain about things that are not working in their lives, right? Things like, oh, the government is against me, or maybe it's because I'm not enough, maybe I'm not tall enough. Or for some of us who immigrated from Africa, we say maybe because I'm too black, right? Or maybe because I don't speak fluent English. Maybe because my dressing style is different, right? So we have all these questions about the things that we want to achieve in our lives and the things that we cannot achieve in our lives. So complainers are those people who are sitting there complaining without necessarily taking any step to further themselves or to get their lives better, right? The second thing about the complainers is that these are people that you realize who are doing very, 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 very minimal. It means they are doing as little as possible in their lives. For example, they want to enhance their communication, or they don't even realize that communication is a big problem in their relationship. They always complain about their spouses. My wife is this, my husband is that. They are not enough for me. They are not beautiful. They are not fine. They are not this. They are not that. They are not that, right? They forget to understand that they are the ones who are supposed to take responsibility to actually take upon themselves if they want to be consistent, right? They're building upon, they forget to understand that they are the ones who are responsible for building or destroying the relationship. Think about relationship, right? Another thing that you realize is that these people at work, they don't show up. So if you're at work and if your manager is out of work, right, you're going to realize that these people, if their managers are out of work, they are just relaxed. They feel like, you know what, it's a Friday, it's okay, I'm probably not going to be doing anything. maybe my boss is not around today, I'll just stay at home, or maybe I'll just work from home. And if they're working from home, guess what? They are primarily not even working. They are spending more time with their families or maybe some extracurricular activity. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is you realize that these are people that you get the point about what I'm talking about, right? Because the whole point about this is actually not just the people in your life, but you want to think about behaviors like these. People who are maybe influencing you, people who are asking you all these questions, people who may be influencing you in different aspects. You want to be able to identify them by looking at the criteria. Are these people who are complainers or people who are asking questions? If people who are complainers, you want to avoid those people, right? Because at the end of the day, they're going to complain so much so your own visions, the goals and dreams that you have for your life are going to go down the drain because you've listened to them so much and you start looking at yourself from a negative standpoint, right? Another thing, you want to be able to identify people who are asking questions in your life, people who are inquisitive, people who are having goals. If you're in a position of leadership, if you're in a position of support, be able to identify those people who have the vision, people who want to take their lives to the next level. How can you be valuable to them? How can you support them? How can you be there to answer their questions? How can you actually look at them? How can you be part of their story? Or how can they be part of your story, right? Because people who are inquisitive are people who have stories, people who have success. Maybe they've been able to accumulate a level of success in their lives, right? But they want to be able to do more. And they found you to be that person that they can talk to. They can ask you questions. They may be people who know better than you in your life, right? But you want to be able to identify yourself with them, be with them, follow them, see what they're doing, and see how you can duplicate that in your life, right? Awesome. So now we'll be able to identify the complainers and the questionnaires. These are people who have asked questions and the people who are complaining. So in the training program that I was actually a part of, the coaches were able to give us some advice on how you can actually get yourself unstuck. And those are the things I'm really going to talk. Those are the things I'm going to talk to you today about, right? The first thing that is said is, if you feel unstuck in your life, if you feel like there's something that's not going right, if you feel like, you know what, I should be doing better, I should be doing X, Y, and Z at this point, but maybe I feel like I'm doing just A, B, C. How can I get to X, Y, and Z? How can I actually get better at doing this? How can I do this and that, you know? So you've been asking yourself for this question, which means that you are a questioner, right? Which means that you are somebody who asks, first of all, you're somebody who have identified the problem. You've been able to acknowledge that there's a problem. And secondly, you're able to identify that, okay, since I have this problem, what can I do to actually get myself from this situation? So the coaches gave us 3 advice, and I'm going to share with you today. First, I said, make a plan. Make a plan means that since you've been able to identify the issues that are wrong, the issues that are going wrong, the things that you think you could do better, make a plan or make a list of those things that you know you could do better, right? So if you be able to identify and know that, okay, you know what, my problem is that I need to make more money, or my problem is that I need to maybe get a better job, or maybe if my problem is that I need to make more money, the first thing is you want to get a better job. Is it that you need a better job? Do you need a new training? Do you need to add some skills in your life, right? Do you need to have a driver's license? Do you need to learn a new skill? Do you need to learn computers, right? Do you need to advance yourself to some level? Do you need to get a new certification, right? Do you need to get, like, whatever it is that you need to get done, you actually go out there and do it, right? So create a plan. First thing they said, create a plan. So create a plan that's going to work for you. Create a timeline. Second aspect is that they said, make sure you find mentorship and coaches. And these are people, if you are not familiar with the concept of mentorship, and I know that the concept of mentorship is not something that we find very usual in the African community or in the immigrant community, because so many times we think about the fact that we just come in here, we just want to be able to work and keep working and keep going, right? We forget about everything else. But a mentor is somebody who stands on the outside and watch you. Maybe this is a path that they've already followed, right? A mentor is somebody who has already done whatever it is that you want to do. They've already achieved a level of success. Because you're looking at somebody, because I will follow somebody who's made $1 million. or 10 million or a million or $1 billion, right? Because that is my desire, that is my goal, that's what I want to be able to achieve. So I'm going to follow that person. I want to learn from them. Whatever it is that they did in order to achieve the result, I'm going to follow everything they tell me to do to get wherever they are, right? To get to the level of success that they currently are. And that is what that's what some of us we kind of miss the point of a mentorship. And if you're looking for a mentor, there are a couple of things that I want to share with you. If you're looking for a mentor, look at somebody who is going to hold you accountable, somebody who is going to hold you accountable, somebody who doesn't just smile at you or smile with you or doesn't take excuses, right? Because sometimes we find our mentors in our friends. We find our mentorship with friends, people who we are familiar with. And these people who are familiar with, guess what? They will not take us serious, or you may not take them serious, right? You may give them excuses. Maybe they give you a task to say, you know what? I want you to read I want to read 2 chapters of this book every day for the next 15 or for the next 30 days. But you come in the next 30 days and you have not read the book and you say, you know, man, you know, it's okay, you know. Then he tells you, okay, just you can do it next week. You can do it, you know. But this is how you delay your success. This is how you delay your progress. Because first of all, you have looked for a person, you have looked for a mentor who finds you to be a friend. And since you're creating that friendship with your mentor, it's okay to have a friend. It's okay to create friendship with your mentor. But the point is, if you lose the mindset of actually benefiting from that relationship, right, then at some point the mentor is going to feel like you are wasting their time or they're wasting your time. Right? At the end of the day, you're not benefiting anything from the relationship, and they're going to leave because they realize that you are not benefiting, or they are not benefiting. You are not giving them an opportunity for them to be able to help you as much as they can. Number 3 item that they gave us is that now first of all, you've been able to make a plan. Secondly, you've met a mentor. You've been able to search for a mentor. You found somebody who can mentor you, somebody who can support you, who can guide you and push you to extremes to make you become a better person. The third aspect is go out there and hustle, right? And when this question, when this third aspect actually came about going out there and hustling, a lot of questions came in because so many people were thinking about what is hustling, right? Hey, coach, what do you mean by hustling? Right. And one of the things that the coach actually mentioned, which I'm really, this really stood out for me, was that hustling means doing everything in your power, doing everything you can to get the results that you want without hurting anybody. So I really love that fact, because hustling, when somebody, on the streets, if you think about hustling on the streets, somebody may think about hustling to be an idea of maybe stealing something from somebody, right? I live in New York City. It's a very busy city. Times Square is like a super busiest, one of the most busy areas in the country. And for immigrants or for people or guests or tourists who come to the country, most of the time they find themselves in Times Square and they want to be able to experience New York. And it's so easy for somebody who is hustling, like a street hustling, right? Street hustling are people who go out there and just steal wallets or pick something, or but you get the point, right? The point is actually the fact that the way that the coaches describe hustling is totally different from what we know hustling to be on the streets. So hustling in this concept is that doing everything you can to get the results that you want. Doing everything you can for as long as it takes to get the result that you want, which means that if you really want to get say for example, you want to make $100,000 a year, right? That's your goal. I want to make sure that I make $100,000 a year. Then you're asking yourself, what are the steps I need to make? What are the steps I need to create in order for me to achieve that $100,000 a year? Do you want to get a new certificate? Do you need to get a new license? Do you need to go to some training program, right? Do you need to learn something different? Do you need to switch careers, right? Secondly, what is it like? Who are the people in your life that are making $100,000 a year or more? How can you reach out to them? How can you benefit from that relationship? How can it teach you to do whatever it is they did in order for them to be able to make that much, right? Thirdly, going out there and hustling, which means that you've met this person, you've met a coach, you've met a mentor who've given you guidance on what is it that they did in order to achieve the result that they've been able to achieve. Now they've given you the guidance. Now it's left to you to actually going out there and hustling. It's left to you to do everything that you can in your power to achieve the result that you want without hurting anybody, right? Without stealing, without making people cry, without making people regret, but you're going out there ethically, right? You're going out there to do your work professionally without hurting people. Because there's something I think about. I used to drive somewhere in the streets, and when I go to I drive to certain areas, I see they have this post sign, and they said, drive as if your children live in this area, or drive as if your children live here. Which means that if you're going to speed, if your children are living in that area, you will not speed, right? So if you know that, so do your business or hustle as if you are hustling with your son, your mom, your brother, your sister, because those are your loved ones, that you're not going to hurt them. So you're hustling, and your relationship with your hustle, maybe your customers, maybe you're going to be having a relationship with your customers, maybe you're going to be having a relationship with your boss, right? Maybe whatever it is that you're going to be able to do, but doing everything in your power for as long as you can to be able to achieve the results that you want. Awesome. So I really want to make sure that you really got value from today's episode, right? Because the whole point is the world is actually run by those who hustle. Because guess what? If you actually take those 3 steps that I just mentioned, if you take those 3 steps and put them into action today, I'm sure you are going to, your life is definitely going to be different. Your life is definitely going to be different. You're going to be able to achieve the result that you want, create the plan that you want to be able to create for your life. And I can't wait to actually hear the success that you're going to be achieving in your life. It's your boy Rudy on your Afro Hustle podcast. If this is your first time seeing me, if this is your first time watching me, make sure to smash the subscribe button, right? Smash the subscribe button, click on the bell, because I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of content, a lot of great content about this show, about immigrants, about the success stories that we're having, and how these things, and how you can actually use these resources to better your life. I can't wait to see you in the next